just the frames. Got keys to kingdom, unlocking chains. Sober the podcast, open up your brains. Sober the podcast, let's get it, man. Yep.
Welcome back to another episode of Sober the Podcast with your host, Bradley Saxon, Mr. CJ Carlton.
What up?
And again, man, we got a good friend of ours in the lab today. We know him as Jay Liss.
Yeah.
Y'all might know him as Jay Liss. But Mr. Jeremy Lister in the house today. Thank you for coming and sitting with us in the lab, man, and taking some time to share your testimony with some of our listeners.
It's an honor, bro.
Yeah, so here's the theme, it seems like, on the last three is that a lot of people don't relate to our victories.
Yeah.
They relate to our frailties.
Yeah.
And so we really just try to get real about where we come from, you know, who we were before Jesus and how Jesus got into our boat, per se, or how that intervention changed our entire life. And the reason why we're doing what we're doing today. Because let's be honest, like, people look at us and what we do is foolishness.
Yep.
Right? They don't understand our praise because they never knew our pain.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so we try to put our pain on display for others to understand, man. Like, when God turns that switch on, they ain't no turning that switch off, bro.
No, absolutely not.
And so your story is like our story, man. Drug addiction, rebellion, but God stepped in and saved our life. And today we live to glorify Him.
Yeah.
And we do it through different facets, right? And
Absolutely.
we'll talk about that a little bit later. But one of the things we do before we start the show is we do what we call a three-pointer. He calls it a three-pack. I call it a three-pointer.
Why did I call it a three-pack last episode?
I guess because we're with the sheriff and he's been finding all the packs. I don't know.
Triple pack.
Like, what we
Called it a
talking
three-pack.
about? You looked at me and I was like, what you looking at, bro?
You were a
It's a
two-pack.
three-pack.
It's a two-pack. Well, you know the people that don't know who Tupac is because they call him Tupac. It's usually white people.
Yeah.
Oh, hey, look, that's Tupac.
It's always white people.
First of all, it's Tupac. But anyway, today we're going to play a few songs for Jeremy. We're going to try to stump him, but I have a feeling we're probably not going to be able to. But we're going to play 3 songs, Jeremy, and we're going to see if you can name the artist. Okay?
Yes,
so
sir.
let me
Let's do
go.
it.
Let me go to my lab right here and see if I can't find something that I might can stump you with. All right, you ready?
Yes, sir.
First song.
Oh, I know this song.
I'm gonna let you think about it. That's a tough one, but let me say this: you've called the guy's name since you've been sitting on the couch.
Can you play a little more of
Yeah.
it?
Me too.
That's Dr. Pepper and On Jesus, by the way.
Yeah.
All right, think about that one. Think about that. That ain't easy.
That's not an easy one. I know that song, though.
Yeah, you definitely know the song. I think they even played that on the radio. Let's go with this one. We'll start with this one.
Jay-Z.
Yeah.
Big Pimpin'.
Hey, how many? I mean, there's so many people
Big
on this.
simping now.
Yeah, there's
Big simping.
yeah. There's so many people up under the sound of our voice that when that came out, spent all summer listening to that jam. You know what?
Yeah.
All right, let's see. All right.
Eminem.
Is that not a classic? I mean, that's one of the better songs there.
Yeah.
That's back in the day. All right, man.
Let's revert back to that first one.
We're going to go to the first one after this one. I'm going to let you keep thinking about that, but I'm going to try to play one more and see if we can't. Oh, this is a tough one, bro. If you get this one, you really, really know. You ready?
Yeah.
This is a tough one. CJ, you don't even know this one. But this song was...
Twisted.
No,
it's not-
listen,
no.
listen.
It started out the same.
Y'all ain't know. I go by the name of Lupe Fiasco.
Dang, he just said it, bro.
Oh, yeah,
Lupe.
Fiasco.
All right, what about this?
Akon.
Yeah, man. I'll give you an extra point if you can tell me who sung that first one. Hey, my
Downtown Club and Ladies
New
Night.
York, part of Dipset. You already
Cameron?
said Cameron. Let's go. Let's give Jeremy Lister.
Hey.
I mean, come on. Good
a
job,
little bit
man.
about hip hop culture, you know.
Well, I mean, here's the truth, man. Coming and raised the way we were, man. I mean, those are some of the people that
Yeah.
probably influenced us the most.
Yeah, absolutely.
Negatively, probably, but at the end of the day, those are sort of the things that were a part of our life at that juncture. And
Yep.
I mean, dude, like, I hate to say this, but I know more rap songs than I know the Bible. I mean, I try to study, and I know a lot about the Bible, but you
Yeah.
got to think, man. I mean, I spent 15, 16 years listening to these guys,
Yep.
and I probably could, right now, turn it on, I could
Yeah.
sing the whole song.
Every word.
Isn't that
Every
crazy?
word, bro.
Isn't that crazy, bro?
It is crazy.
I've been
So-
wondering, like, why can't I remember what I just read? But I can remember a rap song from when I was 14
Well,
years
you
old.
want me to tell you why, bro?
Like,
Because we didn't grow up on Spotify. We grew up on CDs.
yeah, we
Yeah.
did.
And when you bought the CD, you
Yep.
could pull out the actual cover,
Yep.
and you'd sit there for hours listening to it and memorize it. So we got to do better
Yeah.
with our Bible
They'd have
time,
the lyric,
right?
They'd have the lyrics in the.
That's what I'm saying. You sit there and
Yeah.
subconsciously, the reason why you know it is because you read it,
Yeah.
and memorized it, right? And so we ain't got no excuse. We're gonna have to take them Bibles off the off the shelf and dust them off. But anyway, Jay, thank you for coming again. And so a lot of the way that we frame this conversation is we talk about what it's like,
Yeah.
which would be before Jesus, addiction, sin, whatever that looks like in a general way. And then we just talk about the days that led up to God stepping into my life, what happened, and then sort of what it's like now.
Yeah.
You know, obviously, we all have different stories. I grew up in a pretty dysfunctional home. Dad was a drug dealer, mom, alcoholic. Not CJ's story. CJ grew up in a home where, you know, his dad
Good
was
parents, man.
yeah, good parents,
Yeah.
but you know, his dad wasn't a drug dealer, he was a business owner, but he'd been married 2 or 3, 4 times, and he had 18.
6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Yeah, he had several different siblings, you know.
Yeah.
And here's the deal, dude. Like, those equally traumatize us in ways that we would never know.
Absolutely.
So that's where we usually begin. Tell us a little bit about what that looked like for you.
So I would say, I would go back to the beginning. The doctor told my mom that she should have an abortion because I was sick in the womb. That I had gastroschisis. I was born with gastroschisis, where your abdominal wall doesn't form all the way and your intestines are hanging outside of your body. I was almost a full trimester premature, and so the moment of conception, I mean, I was against odds. 15% chance of survival. The doctors operated on me. They said that it was probably a good idea if my mom would just let me go. And my mom said, no, you're going to operate on him. $100,000 baby right off the rip, you know? And I was in an incubator for the first few months of my life, first few weeks of my life. And I wasn't able to be touched by a human for that amount of time. I don't remember exactly how much time it was. But I think that formed and shaped some of my behavior as I grew up. I grew up without a dad in the home. My mom didn't really even know who my dad was at this point.
Do you?
Yeah, now I do.
Oh, okay.
Now I do. I try to have a relationship with him now.
But then it was,
then it was just my mom.
that's all you knew.
That's all I knew. I mean, my mom struggled with drug addiction while she was pregnant with me.
Do you think that's what caused a lot of the problems with you?
I think it probably
Was part of it?
Yeah, it was part of it.
Sure.
So, a very sick kid growing up. I mean, it was just I was in the doctor's office constantly. I couldn't eat. I was lactose intolerant. I was a projectile vomiter. I just projectile vomit on people, like The Exorcist, just on everybody. So nobody wanted to hold me. So, but no,
Or maybe backwards. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. So, growing up, I mean, without a father in the home, my mom would work 2 or 3 jobs just to support us. I mean, she worked at the school, and so like I was a problem child. At the end of first grade, I was on the highest dosage of Ritalin that an adult should take. So that kind of they called me emotionally disturbed and all kinds of things. I was labeled all kinds of things in my life.
Now, do you have siblings?
Yeah, so I had I had an older brother, an older sister, and I have a younger brother.
Okay.
So
You were the youngest?
I was, at that point in time in my life, I was the youngest. And then later, when I was like 10, my brother Mateo was born. But yeah, so pumped full of medication growing up in school. I remember I was a problem child. They labeled me as a problem child. I was kicked out of every single class that I was in. Did pretty good in 3rd and 4th grade. 5th grade, the teachers at a first parent-teacher conference, they all got together and told my mom that they would chip in to pay for me to go to private school.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, and they were like, we'll help pay for it. Like they didn't want me there. I guess I was so ADHD and so off the wall, and I just say whatever. I didn't care.
No filter.
No filter. I just was a messed up kid, right? 6th grade. Fast forward to 6th grade. My grandpa died when I was in 6th grade, and that was when I was 11 years old. And that was the first time I really started experiencing drugs. I started smoking weed and drinking alcohol.
Did you have a great relationship with your granddad? So this hurt you deeply.
So he was really like basically the only dad that I had. Besides my older brother, there was the only other person that I really looked up to. And my grandpa would come pick me up from my mom's house, and he would take me to the casino, and I'd fall asleep in the car, and he'd leave me in the car, and he'd go play the
a different
casino,
time, wasn't it?
and then I'd come back, and
time.
I'd wake up, and he's coming in. You know, you can't do that now. Don't do
No,
that.
no.
Don't do that now. But yeah, so he was really. I mean, I remembered I went to my grandma's house before they had separated. They were living in different places, but were still married, right? They were in different houses, but still married. But so it was weird. So when I went to school, I went to my grandma's house, and like he was on hospice. He basically waited to die for me to get there before he died. And you know, some of his last words were, "Always take care of your mom. You know, always listen to your
And so
mom."
this was her dad.
This was her dad, and don't be like your Uncle Les. Don't be chewing tobacco. Don't be drinking. Don't be doing this. And those are some of his last words. And he told me he loved me. And 5 minutes later, after I left, he died. So it really made an imprint on my life.
Sure.
And I didn't know how to cope with it. So I started smoking weed, go to the skate park, and started skipping school, just smoking weed every day. And then, so I kept getting in trouble in school. So they put me in a class all by myself. And they isolated me from all the other kids. I couldn't go to lunch with anybody. I couldn't go to the bathroom by myself. I literally was in prison in school. I was like a high security inmate in 6th grade. So it was basically shaping my life for prison. You know, I was getting groomed for a lifestyle of prison, right? And so I didn't know it at the time, but that's really what it was. And so I was like, why would I do this? And I did good for 1 year. I kind of did good in that isolated state, and then I shut down. 7th grade, I left school, quit going to school. Finally I was in and out of school in 7th grade, and 8th grade came back, ended up going to high school. My brother got diagnosed with terminal cancer when I was 16 years old.
This is your oldest brother.
This is my older brother. He was 21 when he got diagnosed with terminal cancer. So I quit school just to take care of him. You know, we were smoking weed at the time. And then I was selling weed. That became my identity, right? That's why I was skipping school.
Oh, for sure.
I was selling weed. I'd sell weed in school. Really, the only reason that I'd go back to school is because somebody needed some weed, and I'd go in and I'd do my thing, and then I'd leave. Principals chased me out of the, out of the school. Where are you going? I'm like, later, bro.
Later, dog.
I gotta go. And really, that was kind of my lifestyle. And my brother got diagnosed with cancer, so I just quit school, and I was kind of helping my mom take care of him because my mom still had to work, and he had to go to chemotherapy and radiation. So I'd kind of go to those places with him, and I just watched my brother slowly die. Just his health deplete. Like, he had no use of his esophagus. He had head, neck, lung, and esophageal cancer. And he had no use of his esophagus. And I just remember coming in at night, I'd have to help him kind of like clean his neck because it was like gunk up. He had a hole in his neck. There wasn't a trach yet, but it was just a hole, and it would just like goose, like nasty stuff. And I'd help him take care of it. And I just basically served my brother. And I just watched him die, and I just hear him at night just cry out in pain. Oxydose, liquid Loratab, all these super
Sedatives.
high, sedatives. And after he died, that's really what I turned to. He had like 6-7 bottles of liquid oxydose, and I was pouring
Pounding
up. I was just, the lean was the big thing, you know what I mean? And so I would get the Jolly Ranchers and the cup, and
Sprite.
and I'd get the big Sonic cups and put crazy amounts that should probably have killed me in a drink, and then I was going to school, went to alternative school, and I was just drinking lean every single day, almost dying, like just all the time, just like I couldn't move for hours. My heart, boom, boom,
It slows down.
just like, and
Stops you breathing. It slows you breathing.
yeah. I remember so many times just being like, I'm probably not gonna wake up. I really basically was trying to kill myself
Sure.
while using drugs, and that's when I started experimenting with cocaine and all these things, and started selling pills, ecstasy. I was just doing everything I could to support my habit, just to numb myself out, because I didn't know how to cope. And then 2 years later, my nephew, my brother's only son, my brother had a son. His name was Hunter. He ended up dying 2 years later of a freak accident. And I just flew off the handle. I just remember I started experimenting with meth at that time. That was right before that happened. I started experimenting with meth, and I remember my life was so out of control that I just got a backpack full of weed, and I started walking. I said, I'm going to New Mexico. I'm out of here. There was a girl that I knew up there, and
Where was out of here? Colorado?
So I'm in Colorado. Yeah.
Yeah.
Pagosa Springs area, a small town in Pagosa Springs. I just started walking, and I didn't care how I got there. I was just going. Ended up going there, moved there.
Did you hitchhike there?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, you did.
I just started walking.
You could do that back in the day. People would pick you up now.
Well, I knew a lot of people, so people saw me, and they picked me up, and I got to where I needed to go eventually. The girl ended up picking me up.
How far is Colorado from New Mexico?
Where I was at, it's like, depending on where you're going, 30 minutes to 45 minutes. I was like right on the four corners.
Sure.
So it wasn't very far. It was about an hour and 45 minutes to where I was going.
How old were you at this point? How old were you?
I think like 20 years old.
Okay.
19, 20 years old.
I'm out.
I'm just like, I'm done.
Yeah.
I'm out of here. I owe some people some money.
Well, there's a lot of pain there.
Yeah. I was broken. I didn't know what I got to get a new start. I got to go somewhere else. I can't be here. And that's when I moved to New Mexico. That's when I found out that my nephew Hunter died. I remember I was homeless. I didn't have nowhere to go. My cousin Santino was living there with his girlfriend at the time, going to college. And I remember he let me stay in his house that day that I found out. And I just remember being so broken, and I had to wait for him to get home, and it was freezing cold. It was in October, and I was freezing, and I was just waiting outside his house for him to come home. And I just remember feeling so broken and so alone. And I ended up going back to Colorado for the funeral, and I ended up giving cocaine and some Xanax to my aunt, and they found her dead a day later of a cocaine overdose. And
Yeah.
it was hard. It was hard for me because I blame myself for giving. I just gave it to her. I thought I was doing her a favor. Hey, hook her up. I know you're going through it too. I love you.
And this was the mom of
So she was the mom of Santino. It was Santino's mom.
Yeah.
And man, a lot of them don't really know that I did that.
Sure.
But
you've had to live with that.
I've had to live with that.
Sure.
And it was just one thing after the other, and I ended up a long string of just being angry. And I was in this relationship with this girl, a broken relationship. I was so paranoid. I was doing crazy amounts of meth and cocaine, doing meth just to stay up to do more cocaine. And I was staying up 5-6 days at a time, just mentally gone, just out in the street, like looking with a gun, just like waiting for people, and just typical meth head. out
For sure.
in the bushes looking for people that are coming to my house to come get me.
They ain't coming.
They ain't coming. There's nobody there.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I was just at 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, just walking the streets. I had a place, but I was just walking the streets, just tripping.
Yeah.
And I remember one time I was so paranoid that I thought my girlfriend was in my roommate's room, and he had just got he was never home. Like he was always out of town. And I kicked in his door and I held a pistol to his head and I said, Where is she? Where is she, homie? Where's she at? And I was like making him look under the bed and like all this crazy. And I was like, and I finally realized she wasn't in there.
Yeah.
And I was like, my bad, bro. And he was like, bro, you got to figure something out.
You're gonna have to move out.
You're gonna have to go, bro.
Yeah,
Like,
for sure.
And so I ended up getting in trouble for hit this dude in the face with a. Long story short, hit this dude in the face with a brick. I was fighting with my girlfriend at her job. This dude, they grabbed me, they threw me out. I grabbed a brick and I threw it at him, hit him, and they shut the door. And I went back inside. The cops came. Helicopters were looking for me. I ran. My girlfriend's house, my parents' house was right there. I ducked and I hid and jumped over the fence and was like hiding underneath their porch. And her mom came out and she was like, "Hey, Jeremy, what are you doing here?" I was like, "Oh, I just came to see the dog, just lying." And I was like, "Can you give me a ride home?" And she's like, "Yeah." And so I get in her car. I got in the back seat because I didn't want to get in the front seat because I knew the cops were looking for me. And she's like, "You can sit up here." I was like, "No, it's okay. I'll just sit back here." And I had an ounce of coke on me. And we were about to pull out of the house, and here comes a cop and like stops her. And so I grabbed the coke and I shoved it underneath the seat. And I ended up going to jail that day. They found the coke. They were mad at me. Like they found all that. It was just this big mess. And it just started this revolving door of me going in and out of jail, in and out of jail, in and out of jail. I got a domestic violence charge, assault with a deadly weapon charge. Ended up doing 18 months on that in New Mexico.
Prison or
It
jail?
was just jail. They lowered it down to a misdemeanor because I took the domestic violence charge. So they pled it down.
Yeah.
And so now I got a domestic violence charge on my record. Go back to Colorado, get another domestic violence charge for fighting with my girlfriend. She tried to hit me with her car and all kinds of crazy like it was just very dysfunctional, right? Broke some of my own stuff, ended up getting in trouble for it.
Breaking your own stuff.
Yeah, smashed a dresser. I just completely destroyed a dresser, pissed off. Just angry. And I get in trouble for it. Like I didn't touch her. It was insane. Ended up getting in trouble for that. Then ended up doing 90 days for that. And just this whole string, then I started coming back selling drugs and ended up slowly just continually getting caught over and over and over and over again, selling meth, selling drugs. I mean, by the grace of God, just being caught with the things that I got caught with, man, I'm blessed. I mean, always
Could have been worse.
bro. Like, yeah, I should be in prison for the rest of my life. And just at that point, so I've been on 4 different sentences, 18 months, year, 18 months, year, just these little sentences, right? Just I'd get out for 30 days and end up going back in on a parole violation with a new charge. Boom, get back out, parole violation with a new charge. Get back out, parole violation with a new charge. And it just kept going and going and going. And finally got out. This was 5-6 years ago. Got out on parole, doing my thing. Met this girl. And didn't know her. Walking through Walmart with her. She saw this girl that she knew. And she's like, "Hey, what's up, Brandy?" Blah, blah, blah. And I guess she had an ex-boyfriend that she had just broke up with, and he was super crazy. You know what I mean? And so ended up getting set up by some people that I knew because I was selling these people drugs. They said, "Hey, we got a play for you. Dude wants a quarter ounce, whatever." I was like, "All right, let's go." Took me out in the middle of nowhere, and I'm doing my thing, you know. And dude knocks on the window. He said, "Hey, you got a cigarette?" I said, "Yeah, here." And I hand him the cigarette, and they unlock the door. And the dude pulls the door open and has this mini baseball bat, and he starts hitting me with it. Pop, pop. I don't even know this dude. Like he hit me up, and he's like, "Hey, are you with this girl, Brittany?" Blah blah blah. And I was just like, "None of my business, bro." You know what I'm saying? I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't know who you are,
Yeah.
bro. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not going to tell you anything. You know what I mean? And so they ended up setting me up, hit me with a baseball bat. He pulls out this knife and starts trying to stab me. And I'm in the back seat of the car with my backpack right here. I'm just defending myself, like blocking the blows. He ends up like barely grazing my neck and then stabbing me right here in the chest. And everybody's freaking out. And I just remember saying, "You better take me to the hospital, or I promise you, like everyone here is gonna be gone. I promise you. By the end of the day, I'm just gonna make one phone call, and I'll be erased from the earth." And they ended up taking me to the emergency room, dropped me off, and I'm gushing blood from my chest. I was in fight or flight mode. These people take off. They took me. I just remember calling my mom. And she wouldn't answer. She was mad at me at the time. She wouldn't even let me come to her house. I came to her house one day, and she said, "You've got to leave.
Mm-hmm.
You can't be here." Like I just being at the place where your own family says, "Hey,
Yeah.
you can't be. Don't even look at my house.
Yeah.
Don't even look at it." You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
and I was just trying to take a shower. I just remember calling my mom and leaving her messages saying how bad of a son I was, and I'm sorry. Because I really thought I was dying. Like I was gushing blood everywhere. Like there was blood. It was a small knife. But so I get to the hospital and tell them, they're like, "What happened?" I said, "Well, I was working and I slipped on some ice." You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I was like, I slipped on some ice and there was this piece of metal sticking out of the ground and I slipped and I fell on it and like, I don't know what happened. They're like,
Bro.
Yeah.
"Are you really going to tell us what happened?" I was like, "That's really what happened." They're like, "Okay."
Yeah.
And they were done with me at that point. But the doctor came in and said that they did like a little X-ray of my chest to make sure that everything was all right in there. But they said I was 1.5 centimeters away from the main artery right here. And they said if that would have been hit, then I would have been dead.
Yeah.
That I would have
Never made it to the hospital.
Never would have made it to the hospital. So, so fast forward a couple days later, I got a gun and I was gonna go kill this dude. And one of the guys I was running with was friends with him. I didn't know this at the time. And so they had set me up again. I was going to make a play. I was sitting in the front seat, and guy jumps out of the bushes and puts a buck knife to my throat.
He must have been listening to Plies.
What?
I'm right at your bushes. You know, he made a song called Bushes.
Oh, I
I'm
never
gonna be
heard that.
outside of your bushes.
No,
he done jumped out the
He
bushes.
jumped out the bushes, and he had a buck knife to my throat. And he said, "Give me everything you got." And he grabbed my backpack, which had the gun in it. But I had all the dope on me in a Crown Royal bag and on my
Yeah.
On your person.
in my person. Yeah. So, anyways, like he got what he got. They took off, and he grabbed me and pulled me out the car, and they all took off, and I was like, bro.
He thought he had the drugs, didn't he?
Yeah. Yeah, there was some in there, but there wasn't like not the stash. Not the stash. And anyway, so later on, I ended up getting set up. Dude, it's crazy. Like this dude wore a wire on me, bro. Like I get in this car within 15 seconds, get pulled over, and I'm like, bro, what the heck?
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
and I'm on parole. Like, so this officer's like, I'm like, "Hey, why'd you pull us over?" And he's like, "I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to the driver." I said, "Okay." And I just kind of clammed up, and he finds like, "What's your name?" I said, "You talking to the driver."
No, did he like that?
No, he didn't like that. And I was like, but I'm on parole, so I have to legally give my name. So I was like, "My name's Jeremy Lister, birthday 4/11/91. He's like, "Okay." And he comes around to my side. He's like, "What are you doing?" I said, "Well," so obviously I lied. I was like, "Man, they're taking me to the gas station. I was getting some food. I got to go to work in the morning. I was getting some stuff for the week. And that's what I was doing." And he's like, "Really?" I said, "Yeah, that's all I'm doing." And he's like, "All right, you're free to leave." I was like, "What? For real?" And he's like, "Yeah." And he got me out of the car. They patted me down and they sent me on my way. I had my backpack on and I didn't look back. I go into the store. I start buying Gatorades, and they pull it. The people that I was with pull in, and the cop pulls in behind them, and this dude comes in. I'm not gonna say his name, but old boy comes in and he says, "Hey bro, can you just help me out, dog? I'm real sick, dog. Like, just give me a chunk and all." And I was like, "I don't know what you're talking about. I have no idea what you're talking about, bro. Get away from me." Get out my face. He's like, please, bro, please. And I was like, nah, man. I don't know what you're talking about.
You sent him in as a narc?
I guess. I don't know what it was. But like, so what happened was I paid for my stuff. I put on my headphones and I walk out the door and here comes a swarm of cops. And they're like, hey, stop right there. And I just kept walking and they grabbed me and they yanked me back around. And I was like, what, bro? What? They said, I told you to stop. I said, you said I was free to go. And they said, not anymore. And I was like, for what? And they ended up, they searched me. I had all my stuff, on my person. They searched my backpack. They found a scale, all the stuff like
Paraphernalia,
baggies, money. They had a bunch of money on me. And they're like, you better just give us what you got. Because if you go to the jail and you have it there, it's going to be worse. And so end up going to the jail. Immediately they go to strip search me. I grab my stuff, I break the bag, and I throw it in the toilet. And they grab me, slam me on the ground, beat me half to death. And they ended up getting like, I don't know, it was like 7 grams of heroin that was left that they were able to pick
use
out.
Against
to
you,
use against me. That was my 5th distribution charge while on parole. It was just while bringing contraband into a government facility. Like I just tampering with physical evidence, I was hit. So at this point in time of my life, I was living it. Also, I was in a gang. I joined a gang about the age of 20, 21. Started running with a gang, coming back and forth to New Mexico. I was running drugs from New Mexico to Colorado. So I was in a gang, Sureños, Southside Locos. And so, man, I was embedded in the gang culture. I was trying to find somewhere to fit, right? I never fit in anywhere. I skateboarded. Bro. I did all these things. Yep. I was in all these different circles, but I didn't know who I was.
Sure.
That was the problem, right? I was trying to fit in. I was trying to find love somewhere, and I could never find it. It was all fake. It was all false. And so, get back to the pod, doing gang activity, blah blah blah. But I was reading the Bible. Started one of my homies.
So you get put in prison for those charges?
No. So this is how I met Jesus. I'm going to where I met Jesus now. So I was in prison previously, and one of my homies, Deco, he told me, he said, "Let's come to church with me, bro." And I was like, "We're gonna go past."
Are these guys Hispanic?
Yeah.
Are you part?
Yeah. My mom's Hispanic. My
so
dad's
your
white.
mom is Hispanic. Your dad's white.
My dad's white. My mom's Hispanic. So we ended up going to a church service, and I heard this song "Redeemed."
Big Daddy Weave.
And I tried my hardest not to cry.
That's a jam too,
dude.
man.
I tried my hardest not to cry because I'm in prison, and I just cried. I was so broken, and I wanted to be free. I wanted to be free. I didn't know how to be, right? I didn't know how to be free, and so fast forward back to this point, I started reading the Bible. I got a daily bread. I reached out. You guys know Penny and Drew Crowes?
Yeah, they're the ones that send a lot of people here from Colorado.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I had reached out to them, and they said that I was ineligible for their services because I was on parole. I ended up killing my parole tail in jail while waiting, being adjudicated in court for trial or whatever. And so I had signed a deal for 4 to 8 years, but they were going to give me probation first. That's why I signed it, because they said they were going to give me probation. And but if I messed up, 4 to 8 years with a habitual criminal charge tacked on if I messed up. So if I go to prison, I'm getting a habitual criminal charge tacked on to my sentence. And plus, you were on parole when you took the charge. They would probably give you another sentence enhancer for that. So that's ×2.
Yes.
And I'm like, let's run that probation. I was just trying to get out of jail. Let's run it.
Yeah.
Run that probation. So I did a PSI. Ended up, I go to court, and PSI comes in. They didn't tell me anything about it. Did my pre-sentence investigation. Got screened for drug court. Got screened for community corrections. I got denied for every one of them. They said I was a menace to society, that I deserved to go to prison, and that they didn't want to do it.
So the solicitor wasn't on your side.
Yeah. I don't know what a solicitor is, because it's different in Colorado. I know solicitors here. It was just the DA and the
I mean, they're just the one that's telling the judge, like, based on what he's did, you can't you can't give him probation.
Yep.
You need to lay the hammer.
Yeah, based on my past criminal history and all that stuff, they were like,
Nah.
no. And he's like, are you ready to get sentenced? And I was like, no. You know what I mean? And so that was the first time I really heard God's voice. He said, go back to your cell. And I heard this voice. It said, go back to your cell. And I was like, nah, take me back to my cell. And they're like, all right. They continued it for 2 weeks. And so I go back to my cell, and I was broken, man. You know, I was just straight broken at that point, and I just didn't know what to do. I was like, man, I'm hit.
Yeah.
I'm hit.
You know what my son would say? That they don't say you're hit no more. You know what he says?
What?
You cooked.
Oh, yeah, I was cooked.
Bro, I was like,
straight
what you
cooked.
talking about? Cooked. But that's the new deal.
I was cooked.
You cooked. You cooked, bro.
I was straight cooked. And I went, there was a daily bread. I opened it up, and it said, read Habakkuk 1. And it says, all I see is violence, and I cry out, and you do not come to save. And that stuck with me, because all I seen was violence around me. All I seen was everything going wrong. And I cried out. I was crying out, and he didn't come to save. I mean, so many times where I cried out,
God saved me.
and he didn't save me. I always believed in a God. I just didn't know who that God was. I always prayed. I always cried out. Man, God save me. And I just never really knew who God was.
Sure.
And I kept reading, and it says, watch and be utterly amazed, for I'm doing something in your day that you wouldn't believe, even if someone were to tell you about it. And that struck my heart. It says, be patient, for it will not delay, for these things that I tell you will surely come to pass. And it just, man, it hit my heart, hit my spirit. And I got on my knees right there. I said, God, show me where you want me to go, and show me what you want me to do, and I'll do it. I don't care what, if I got to go to prison, I want to serve you. I don't know what that looks like. Show me, teach me. I don't know what this means. I didn't have a preacher like pumping me or filling me with doctrine or filling me with the gospel or anything like that. I was just broken, man, and I was just ready to change. And not even 3 seconds, I'm telling you, not even 3 seconds later, there was a guard on my intercom. He said, Mr. Lister, someone's here to see you. And I'm still trying to play tough. I'm crying, literally just weeping in my cell. And I said, who is it? He said, I don't know. Do you want to see him? And I said, well, who is it? So I was thinking it was Southwest Drug Task Force trying to get me to tell on somebody. And I just wasn't about to do that. You know what I'm saying? I was going to take my lick, do whatever I had to do to get through this. But that was something that was not on the table for me, right? So, I mean, that's green light. As soon as I get to any yard, I mean, that's a green light, you know what I mean? Especially who I'm running with, right? You know what I'm saying? So that just wasn't an option for me. So I was like, well, who is it? They're like, all right, bye. So I heard that voice again telling me to go. So I pressed the button. I said, yeah, I want to see who it is. Ended up going to this room. There's this man. This is such a crazy story. People think I'm crazy when I tell the story, but I remember I like watches. So I look, as soon as I get into the room, I see he has a nice suit on. He has his legs crossed. He's playing a Sudoku puzzle. And I'm just looking at this guy, and I see his watch. It's a gold presidential Rolex. And I'm like, this ain't a cop. You know what I mean? I'm like, this dude ain't a cop. Can't be a cop unless he's a crooked cop with a big old Rolex. Rich cop, you know? And what seemed like eternity, he finally looked up at me and he said, are you Jeremy Lister? I said, yeah. He said, I hear you want some help. And I was like, what? Yeah, I do. He said, take a seat. And instantaneously, God revealed himself to me through this man who is actually, he's Jewish, doesn't believe in God, but he's Jewish, but he's a lawyer that I could never afford in a million years. Like he's on retainer with Drew and Penny, like he helps them. I don't know what he charges them. I don't know how that works, but if I were to go to him
you
personally,
couldn't afford it.
I could never afford it.
You couldn't even afford the initial conversation.
No, absolutely not. And
the retainer.
Yeah, and so like he said, you want some help? And I said, yeah. He said, I got 2 questions for you. Are you willing to go to a faith-based recovery program? Show me what you want me to do. I asked the Lord, show me what you want me to do. And then I asked him, show me where you want me to go. I said, yeah. He said, you willing to relocate? And I said, to where? He said, to South Carolina. I was like, where's that? I didn't realize that it was 1,700 miles away from where I sat.
Yeah.
And I said, man, I'm willing to do whatever it takes to change my life. Whatever it takes. I don't care. Just send me. He said, but you don't understand what it looks like. And he told me, he said, it doesn't matter what it looks like. I have pull in the court, and I'll get you there if you're willing to sit down and be patient. So I had read, be patient, for it will not delay, for these things that I tell you will surely come to pass. And instantaneously, God answered my two questions. Show me what you want me to do, and show me where you want me to go, and I'll do it. And then he revealed himself to me through the scripture, and said, through the man who doesn't even believe in God, and said, be patient, for it will not delay, for these things that I'm telling you will surely come to pass. Not in those words, but basically verbatim what I had read, he repeated. And so instantaneously, God had just made I was quickened in my spirit, and I came alive to Christ in that moment. And from that moment, I surrendered my life to Jesus. And I went back to the cell, and I told all the homies, I said, look, because I mean, there's a lot of homies in the cell with me. There was about 6 or 7, and I said, look, I can't serve 2 masters anymore, and I'm gonna serve Jesus, so you guys can handle your business and you can do what you got to do, but I'm no longer a part of a gang anymore. I'm not doing anything. I'm not doing that. I'm not doing anything you asked me to do. You guys can handle your business. And ended up getting the snot beat out of me pretty bad. I mean, my eyes were almost swollen shut, like I was beat up. And I ended up going to solitary confinement for 7.5 months. I'd already had a bunch of write-ups for fighting, for this and for that, and ended up going and getting to spend time with 7.5 months with Jesus, getting to read the scriptures from back to front. I just started at the front and just was God revealed himself to me through that time. I remember I didn't even have a mirror. Like, the mirror that I had was so scratched out, I couldn't even see my reflection. Because God didn't want to see me for who I used to be, but who he was making me to be. And so I couldn't even see my own reflection for such a long period of time. I mean, there was times where I got out and I got to see my reflection, but when I was reflecting, I couldn't see my reflection. It was just super powerful, and ended up not being able to know, like, if I was going or not. So I ended up going to court. Dude doesn't even show up. And I'm like... So they continued it for later, and he finally comes to the courtroom looking like he slept in his suit. Like, I was like, dude, this dude's representing me? Like, he had no briefcase. He didn't even know who he was there to represent. He was like, Judge, who am I here for? And I'm like,
I'm in trouble.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I'm hit. I'm cooked.
I'm cooked.
I'm cooked. Like, and I was like, bro, I'm screwed. You know what I mean? And he finally is like, he pulled me aside. He's like, he didn't like have no information. Like, he's like, let me call Penny real quick. And I'm like, dude, like, I'm getting sentenced today, bro. Like,
bro,
what's going on? And they finally pulled me up, and judge, like, he comes to the judge and said, hey, he's looking to go to a faith-based Christian rehab in South Carolina. We already have him a bed, this and that. We need a PR bond. And the judge looked at him like he was like crazy, right? And he's looking over all my charges, all my history, and he looks up at me. He said, I need to skip you. So he skipped me again to the end, and my heart's beating out of my chest. I'm like, dude, I'm hit.
You're about to lay the hammer on me.
He don't want me to go, and he finally takes my case, and he's like, Mr. Lister, everything in me tells me not to let you go. And I don't want you to go. I don't think you deserve it. You're a menace to society. You've been in my courtroom more times than I can count. And I'm sick of seeing you. I'm sick of it. He said, but there's something in me. There's this one little thing that's in me that's telling me to let you go. I don't know what it is, because it goes against everything I believe. Those were his exact words. It goes against everything I believe. He was handing out time like it was Skittles that day. King-size pack of Skittles, just dumping it in people's hands. He was just giving time after time for less stuff than what I was doing, right? And I was just flabbergasted. I was just tripping. And finally, he's like, I'm going to let you go under one condition, that when you're done, you turn yourself back into jail, and then I'm going to sentence you. And I was like, why would I do that? But then I heard the Lord speak again. He said, do you trust me? Audibly, just like he was right there in the courtroom with me. He said, do you trust me? I said, yeah. A God that I don't really know, I'm going to just put all my trust and all my faith in to go 1,700 miles to a place I don't even know.
Well, you ain't got nothing left. That's the greatest thing ever happened to you. You don't trust God that radically.
Nope.
If you got something to hang on to,
I had nothing left.
that's the best thing ever happened to any of us.
I had nothing left. And I said, do it. I'm doing it.
Yeah.
And, man, I went from solitary confinement to an airplane and to an 80-man rehab in Greenville, South Carolina.
Miracle Hill?
Miracle Hill Overcomers. Changed my life. Third day there, I had a knife. I was going to stab somebody. Because this dude was just like crazy. Like, it was crazy. I was going to, dude, seriously, they were like, bro, you got to chill. Like, this isn't prison. You can't, like, just do. I was like, this dude disrespected me so bad. I was so.
This was another resident or employee?
It was another resident. Dude just completely disrespected me, and I was just like,
this is it.
I had a hard time. You know, I still have that kind of disrespect complex in my life.
Well, you just take it personal.
Yeah.
So you have ways that you deal with that.
Yeah. And so ended up not doing it and really just started encountering God over that period of time. And long story, went through Miracle Hill Overcomers, just submitted myself to the program, did whatever they told me, and really got down to the raw things in my life. All the times the sexual abuse, I didn't talk about like just the sexual abuse that happened when I was a little kid, and just little things like that. I don't really tell people that, and I just feel like
somebody needs to hear
that. That I had to unpack the reason why I've been so sexually frustrated in my life. Just the repetitive masturbation, all these types of things that have manifested itself in my life. Just the sick thoughts, the things that go through my mind, and why I deal with those things is because I was exposed to sexuality at such a young age, and it was perverted, right? And just having to still dealing with those things, right? Still dealing with those feelings, and those emotions, those lies, right?
Yeah.
And really set on my self-esteem, and I felt like I had to sleep with every woman that I come in contact with to stroke my ego or whatever that looked like.
To make you feel like somebody or to find some value.
Yeah, to find value, right? And I had to unpack that and be willing to share that. That was really the first time that I've ever actually shared it was in my fourth and fifth step, right? I think it was the fifth step, right? Where you tell
100%.
Where you tell
your whole life
exact
story.
nature of your wrongs, right?
Yeah.
That was a place of freedom for me. Because I was willing to lay it all out on the table. Every lie that I told, everything that I did, like I laid it all out there. And I said, look, that's not for me to have anymore.
Yeah, that was a turning point for me too. Because I had to disclose those same type of experiences. And it was family members for me that did it to me.
Me too.
But it's amazing how the enemy... in those experiences, it sends us messages. It teaches us things about ourselves, about sex.
Yeah.
Right? That we start over time watering, bro. These seeds being planted, we water through experience. And by the time we're grown, we're freaking a slave to it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so, what courage it takes for men to be able to humble themselves, not only just confess to God and to themselves, but to another human being. That's the type of humbling experience I need. I have no problem with telling God because I figured he already knows.
Yeah.
And I know because I was in the experience.
Yep.
But I had a very hard time getting to a place where I was willing to tell somebody else because, number one, I don't feel like I can trust anybody anyway because of all the pain, you know? So I'm like you, that part of the process really help set me free on that, really set me on the path of freedom.
Yeah, absolutely. Just exposing yourself. Like I met this man, his name's Jim Taylor. I mean, he was a pastor at Grace Church, still is, I believe, but he was just so brutally honest with his story that it gave me. He was authentic with it. He just
Transparency.
laid it all out there like it was uncomfortable how transparent he was. Right? It just made me uncomfortable because I had never had anybody just be so exposed and just so comfortable with who they are in their identity, right?
Yeah.
And just be like, hey, this is what it was.
This the deal.
This is how bad it was. This is the nature of it, where I was at, and this is like how bad it was. And I was like, and you messed up. But I'm messed up because the same thing he was saying I was doing or did, but I just wasn't willing to talk about it, right?
He was averting death and misery for you.
Yeah.
For real.
Well, I mean, imagine if he hasn't come to grips with his story and worked through it, he's not sharing that stuff with you. So that is the thing that is attractive to people who are not identified by their past anymore, is how are you sharing this and not worried about what I'm going to think about you?
Yeah.
Because I'm not identified by it. And the key of what I'm sharing is to hopefully become something that sets you free.
Yeah.
And thank God for this guy.
Yeah.
Because, you know, these are the types of experiences I've had with God through people that have really changed my life.
Yeah.
And I feel indebted to a lot of those people. I still, to this day, 19 years later, call and tell people that were willing to lay their life down for the service of me finding God. And some of them ain't even sober now. I still call them once a month and say, if it wouldn't have been for you, I think I'd be dead. Thank you.
Yep.
And I try to live my life after that to do it for somebody else.
Yep.
You know? So thank God for Jim.
Jim
Thank
Taylor.
God for Jim Taylor, bro. Thank God for his pain. Thank God for him displaying his pain to be your wisdom, man. Like, those are the types of things that I feel are so important.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So you graduate Overcomers 9 months?
Graduated Overcomers 8 months. And so I was supposed to go back to jail. And I was like, I ain't doing that. And so I immediately, so my spiritual dad, Steve Vicari, he runs Homes of Hope, which is a men's workforce development.
Yeah, so I know of him through Peyton,
Peyton went through him there right before I went in. But so it was, I felt this draw to, I seen them guys and how happy they were and the life that they were living. They were living out freedom in a place. I'm just like, why are they so happy? And but the second day that I was there, I heard Steve preach and I was like, man, I want a fire like that. I want to talk about God like that. Like, that's what I want. Right. And I think sometimes in our life that we got to identify that place, that person that says, hey, I got what they want. I want what they got.
Yeah.
Right. I want what they got because they carry it with grace. And I want that for my life. And that was a real big turning point for me, especially being fresh into the program. I want what he's got. And so I followed that step and I wasn't supposed to go. Like, I wasn't able
You're supposed to go back to Colorado.
I was supposed to go back to Colorado, but also they didn't have an opening for 6 months. So I would have to wait for 6 months.
You're talking about Homes of Hope.
Homes of Hope. And so like I was like, man, what am I gonna do? I said, God, if you want me to be there, you're gonna put me there. That's what you're gonna do. And I'm gonna put it on I'm gonna plan to go back to Colorado, but I'm believing that you're gonna put me in Homes of Hope before I go. And so 2 weeks before I graduate Overcomers, a guy leaves.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm done. I'm out of here. And it opened up a spot for me to go. And it's crazy, the faithfulness of God, because Steve is like, man, it's going to be real hard for you because you can't get SNAP benefits because you're a 5-time convicted drug felon.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And I was like, he's like, you really going to have some grace from God to really get your food. And, you know, we'll work with you, but it's almost impossible for guys that don't have SNAP benefits. And I said, God, I almost didn't go because of that. It almost deterred me and almost like made me not go. But the Lord continually, it's like, this is a continual part of my story, is that God always says, do you trust me? And I hear his voice always in those peak moments of my life. God always shows up and says, do you trust me? And so there was a lady who actually gave the ring, the promise of the ring for my wife later on. I'm probably not going to get into that. But so the Lord told her to send me a gift card every month, twice a month. I got more money given to me through people's generosity that I didn't tell that I had, but the Lord told them, hey, to give, go give to Jeremy. There's something that he needs. And I got more money than SNAP benefits every single month because of the faithfulness of God and just the willingness to go when it looked like I couldn't do it because I couldn't, but he could, right? And he filled in the gaps, and he gave me more than enough. I saved more money in that program than I ever did selling drugs. Like, I'm telling you, like I saved.
Well, I mean, dude, think about it. Just says everything about God's faithfulness and the plan that He had for each one of us before the foundations of the world.
That's right,
bro. Do you trust me? Well, if I'm able to live in that vein. To watch the Lord come and provide glorifies Him in a way that nothing else can.
Yep.
But think about it, bro. I'm not here to, like, if the Lord said that He sowed a incorruptible seed, right? Like the farmer. This is a parable. The farmer sows incorruptible seed. Eventually, tares grow up with the wheat. And guess what? He says, don't pull the tares out. But think about what he's saying. The farmer's reputation is on the line, not the wheat's. And it ain't the wheat's place to make folk think they're wheat. It's the farmer's place to prove his integrity.
Yeah.
And look what he does in our life when we trust him. I don't have to make folk think I'm weak. Or I don't have to provide for what it is. I didn't create my life to be provided for. I got to trust he's the farmer, I'm the seed. He's got integrity, and he is who he says he is. And when I get in that vein of trusting him, he will show the world how great he is. And his name will be made famous per se, and they will know it ain't me. There ain't nothing that comes out of your life that folk that know you say he's that good. No, they say he ain't that good, and I'm telling you right now, that's all God. He's a criminal. He deserves to be under the jail. But God.
God.
That's your story, man. That when you get to the end of yourself and you can finally acknowledge your bankruptcy spiritually, dude, that's a foundation for life. Right? Like the greatest thing ever happened to us. Jail, brokenness, drugs. I mean, dude, I don't wish that on my kids. But at the end of the day, I look back in my life, there was nothing else that were going to bring me to the end of myself other than me.
It's just
doing those things.
It's so amazing how in each one of our lives, our lack of produced opportunity for God to get in. It made room for God. And it's just crazy how even now in my life, like when I think like, oh God, I gotta do this. I gotta make sure I save this much money. I gotta make that's not producing room for him. Like that's, and I'm not saying like set aside stewardship and being a good manager of what God's given us, but I'm just saying like when God has showed up in my life, it's because I made room for him to show up in my life. Like I was so uncertain. Like there was no play for me. Like I have no play left, man. Like God help me. And then he sends him. Well, God, what am I supposed to do for work? Well, here, go there. Well, that's not enough money. Well, then I'm going to prove to you over the next couple of years that it is enough money. You know what I mean? Like, and it was just, it's just amazing how all of our stories are so synchronized in that type of way, man. And God, dude, it's just so incredible. Because, like, truth is, Jeremy, like, I know, like, my story ain't no good concerning before God. And I know his ain't. But yours dang sure ain't. Like, I'm just, like, I'm telling you, bro, like, God, bro, what he's done in your life and, you know, that we even get to be a part of that or know you, man, is really incredible, dude.
I just feel prophetically in my spirit right now, man. There's a mom listening to this, and Jeremy is her son. And she's on her wits' end, and she's been sowing for years with tears, you know. But I just feel like the Lord said that let his life be hope, that there's nothing that is beyond repair for God. Ooh, I feel that.
That's good stuff.
That, you know, let this be the story that brings you the hope that addiction doesn't have to have the final say. And that the enmity that you have right now is that Satan wants to kill your son. Because that came out of you.
Yeah.
But that eventually the promise is that the son's heel would crush the head of the serpent, you know? And
Yeah.
I just feel like that as a mother, your prayers are not in vain, and that you need to continue to hope and trust in God that He can pull your son out of addiction, out of that gang life, and that there is another side of the story, that one day you will reap with joy.
Yes.
What maybe for so long you sowed with tears, you know? And if it's that one mom, Jeremy, that you came to be vulnerable and share your past and what Jesus has done, maybe it's just for her. And I'm gonna tell you now, I know you, and I know what we're in a vein to do, that we would do it a million more times if it meant one mother found some hope to keep going and believing for her son when he couldn't believe for themselves.
Yeah.
Because there's many people that pray for us when we couldn't pray for ourselves.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? Provided for us when we couldn't provide for our. Listen, when you said God told the person to come and bring you food or money, that is favor.
Yeah.
Favor is not when God speaks to you. Favor is when God speaks to somebody else about you.
Come on. Come on.
Right? And so I just really felt that in my spirit, man, that this story of redemption of what God's doing in Jeremy's life is the hope for somebody under the sound of our voice listening to know that though it seems real dark and it seems like there is no coming back from this, that his story shows that that's a lie. That when God gets involved, He can do anything.
That's right.
Right?
Yeah.
He can turn a mess into a message.
Absolutely.
Which is what your life is today. It's a message of the goodness of God and what He can do in a man's life when they finally get to the end of their self and they say, God, have your way. That was the motto that you said that led to this. I'll do whatever you want me to do. Tell me where to go. Tell me what to do.
And I'll do it.
You know what the biggest thing we need to hold on to the longer we stay sober and walk with Jesus? That.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Bro, if we can find a way to find that same desperation
Yeah.
in the midst of getting or having what we've prayed for.
Yep.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
for real.
Like we're far from being in prison. We're far from being hungry and broke.
Yep.
Like God has provided us. We're blessed. We have jobs, right?
Yeah.
Like, dude, you're running a recovery program.
Yeah. It's crazy.
Like you're married,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
You've been sober and following Jesus for how long now?
Over 5 years.
Over 5 years. You're married. You just took on a directorship role at.
Congratulations on that, by the way, my friend.
Thank you.
Yes,
brother.
Tell
I appreciate it.
Tell the people at what facility.
So I'm the recovery pastor for Hope Center Ministries. We have like 51 centers all across the United States, one in Thailand that they're starting.
How about that?
It's crazy. It's a super cool network of recovery centers. But man, it's an honor to get to rub shoulders with the guys. It's hard. It's hard. Like I get it's like having you guys know, it's like having a church congregation that you see 6 times a week.
Yes,
you know what I mean? And you get to deal with all their problems and issues and frustrations.
We
and
know all about it.
You know, you're gonna get, and I'm just learning, so I need some help. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'll let your
Well,
boy,
I mean,
man.
dude, and here's the thing: I got thrown into it the same way, and it's the thing that sharpened my gifting. It's the thing that built my character in times, taught me how to be more effective with helping people. And so here's what I believe. You can't learn to do it unless you're in it.
Yep.
Yeah.
And the biggest thing that I learned in it was to have people that I could go and sit and talk to.
Yeah.
You know, that's the greatest outlet I had is people that wasn't in it with me, that's not emotionally attached to it, that could give me objective counsel.
Yeah. That's
You know,
good.
and so
That's good.
recovery ministry, as any ministry, is messy.
Yeah.
Ours, I think, could be the most messy because it's like we're not running a ministry that's outside of the chapel bells. Like it's almost like we're a yard outside of the gates of hell.
For real.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And we're like, all right, y'all don't want them? Send them to us.
For real.
You know, and I'm sitting here trying to counsel somebody and I see me in them.
Yep.
And I'm just like, oh, Lord.
Takes
And I
one
want
to
to
know one.
I want to whoop me out of them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But,
I feel that.
dude, it's definitely, you definitely have to be called to do it.
Yep.
Yeah.
You know, if
Can't
you
be
know, I've
hired.
learned, bro,
Can't be
over the
hired.
I've learned over the years, man, if it's what you're paid to do, you're not going to do it long.
Nope.
Because there's too much price to pay.
Yep.
The money ain't, there's not enough money
It's cost.
for the price you have to pay to do this kind of ministry.
Yep.
So it's definitely a calling.
Yeah.
And there'll be days you want to quit, and the calling don't let you because you can't turn the switch on because you didn't turn it. I mean, you can't turn the switch off because you didn't turn it on. You know, and so I think it's God's design to transform us, to send us back into what almost killed us.
Yeah.
For us to be that light, man.
Absolutely.
So, dude, what a story.
That's what a story, bro.
What a story, man,
Incredible.
of God's faithfulness and our ignorance.
Yeah.
I read to the boys this morning Psalms 83 where it talked about defend the poor and the fatherless. But it says they did not know, nor did they understand. They walked around in ignorance, and all the foundations of the earth was unstable. That's us.
Yeah.
What changed in your life? You met somebody who knew something you didn't.
Yep.
You became from an orphan to a son because you met God who changed your knowledge, changed your understanding, and as you applied and walked that out, man, it put an unshakable foundation under your feet, bro.
Yeah. For real.
Yeah, man. That's if you're out there, man, and you're in the same spot that Jeremy was or that we've been in, man, just know there's hope. And you can reach out today. You can call the Bridge Center, 864-540-8080. You can call the Hope Center. How could they get in touch with the Hope Center?
You could just call 864-887-2197. You can
Listen,
call or text.
It's a little. We're here to help you.
Yeah,
like this. The
absolutely.
whole purpose of this is to have an outlet of. I mean, it's resource for your help. Like,
yeah.
dude, you don't have to die that way. You don't have to keep living that way. There are people who understand, and so reach out today, man. We want to put like if we can't personally help you, we have people in our life or places that we could point you to that can get you to the place that you need to be, man.
Absolutely.
That's why we breathe. That's why God wakes us up,
Yep.
and that's why we do this podcast for you. I mean, look, man. Let's be honest. We could be doing anything else we wanted to right now, right?
Yeah.
But a part of why we do this is because we know that a part of following Jesus is to give away what was freely given you. I'm not sitting on this couch if God don't freely give His Son.
Yeah.
Bro, you ain't kidding, dude.
But think about that. Think about the story of Hosea. These people are. I mean, he says his wife Gomer is a prostitute. He's talking about me.
Yeah.
And he's going to buy back what's already his. Bro, think about that. If God doesn't have a heart to go buy back what is his through Jesus,
We're screwed.
we're in prison for the rest of our life or dead from a drug overdose, man. So a part of why we do this podcast is because we know that what we freely have received, we freely give. So again, Jeremy, thank you for coming and spending some time
thank
with
you
us,
guys.
man. We about to find out if you got a 3-pointer. So
we
this
about to
is
see
the
if you got a
chance
jump shot.
to show off your
Or
jump
a
shot,
sit
okay?
shot.
Yeah. Thank you guys so much, man.
Hey, you come back anytime, big dog.
Amen.
All right, so make these shots. So there's merchandise in the hallway right here. So if you can make a shot, you can take home whatever you want. And here's the truth. If you don't make a shot, you can still take whatever you want home. A little ringer. Oh, come on, Jay. Yeah, third try's a charm, baby. Again, Jeremy Lister, let me just help him give a shout out here. He also, matter of fact, if I threw a beat on right now, how safe or how confident do you feel that you'd give me 8 bars?
I'll give you 8 bars.
So I could just pick a random instrumental and you can just pop 8 bars?
Let's do it.
See, I like this. See,
do it.
this is another Al Harris. I put Al Harris on the spot like this, but we all know Al Harris got some bars. But I think Jay Liss has got some
Yeah.
bars.
Let's
And
see.
let me just see if I can find a little small instrumental, and we'll go out.
Holy Spirit, help me.
Yeah, that's all you can say. All right, let me think. Yeah, you don't want me to be doing no.
like middle school.
Little Bradley beatbox.
Ain't no doubt.
Hey, shout out to Pastor Eric and Gina too.
Yes.
They're
I
the
love
truth,
them.
man.
They're awesome.
I love
They're
them.
amazing people.
What about
man.
Jeff Madison?
Oh, Jeff,
Can we
man.
give? Hey,
Jeff-
I'm sorry, Jeff. We always beat you
gotta-
in golf. You know what I'm
gotta hit the
saying?
horn
But
for that.
Yeah,
But, hey.
yeah, hit that. Yeah.
Jeff Madison.
Yeah, Jeff and Chuck
oh,
Bale.
Chuck
Yes,
Bale.
Sir. Yes, sir.
It's just
dog.
man. I mean, you can't. I mean, that's just people, man. That
I'm telling you that Beach Springs fellowship, man. All those people.
They're good people.
they're the
Man,
real deal, man.
I'm telling you, like those are some of the most genuine, wonderful people I've ever met.
Are you ready for this? Now, if you're not feeling it, tell me. I got a couple choices here. Okay, you ready for this?
Yeah. Yeah, don't let's do something else.
All right, I got a couple ones.
Dun, 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 dun,
Yeah.
dun, dun. Hey, hey, hey.
Holy Ghost in the house. Y'all know me, still the same OG, J-List with the homies. I'm trying to get back, but it don't to the sack, but it can't be that, but you know me. I'm on this back with a sub of the podcast. They want to get back, but they coming and all that. I'm going back, but they coming the best. They want to get it all back, because they can't rap fast, want to do it like me. Getting it bad like the Ivy Leagues, trying to bite at me with the side of beat, cause they call me now, it's a sight to see. They used to want me in jail cells, now I'm in that church house. Try to get me on that, man, cause I'm wearing white tees, not a black man.
Let's go.
I tried. It was all right. It was all
Yeah,
right.
Jeremy.
Bro, that's
Yes, sir.
that's a gift, dude. That's a gift. So check out Jay Liz. You can find him on Spotify, Amazon. I'm sure Apple Podcasts. They type in Jay Liz.
J.List.
J.List.
Yeah.
Just dropped a new music video.
Yeah.
Gone.
Yeah, it's called Gone.
Gone.
It's
About a good friend of yours.
So, it's it's about my brother, really. Really, it's an anthem for anybody who's ever lost somebody.
Yeah, that's good.
Because I know we all experience loss, but put in the aspect of that there's hope.
Yeah,
there's
man.
hope when you lose somebody because it feels hopeless.
Yeah, it does.
When somebody's gone, you feel broken, hopeless, alone. But you don't have to stay that way.
Yeah.
That Jesus can set you free.
Yeah, that's so good, man. So
Yeah.
also YouTube,
Yep.
J.List.
Yes, sir.
Again, man, we love you, dude.
Man, I love you
Hey,
guys.
keep doing your thing. Know
Appreciate
that anything we could do to assist you, but just keep blazing those paths. Until next time.
Jesus.
Cheers.